My name is Sana. Whenever I looked at myself in the mirror, I wondered, am I really as beautiful as people say? I come from a small city in Punjab, where nothing stays secret and every glance asks a question. I am 5 feet 4 inches tall, with skin as clear as milk and deep, expressive eyes that seem to tell every story of pain. My hair reached down to my waist, and people often stopped just to watch it sway. But what good is beauty when every look judges you for only one thing? I am the youngest of 3 siblings. My mother used to say, Sana, you are our moon, so bright and precious. Yet even the moon can feel lonely in the silence of night. I have one brother who, from the beginning, seemed to claim me as his own. His eyes, they never felt brotherly. And I have one sister who has always been jealous of me, perhaps because of my beauty or my mother's love. On the outside, everything in my home seemed ordinary, but inside, so much was anything but. When I was a child, I had only one dream: to study hard, become someone, and live for myself. But my body changed so fast that everything shifted. When I turned 13, it felt like my innocence slipped away, and my growing body made me feel guilty. I still remember the day when the boys in my neighborhood first looked at me. They did not look with respect, but with desire. I will never forget my first morning at school. That day was a new beginning for me. My pulse raced, and my heart beat unevenly. I stood at the school gate in my new uniform, not knowing that life was about to take a different path. I had no idea what the next few years would bring, but inside me there was a new excitement. In the soft morning light, everything looked blurry. The crowd of new friends and the faces of my teachers felt both strange and welcoming. I saw him sitting under an old tree in the corner to my left. He was a boy with golden hair, looking gentle as he read from an open book. His eyes were deep blue, like an ancient secret of the sky. When he heard the sound of my footsteps, he looked up and smiled at me. In that moment, my heart began to race. I smiled back, but no words came out. We simply looked at each other. In his smile, all my fears drifted away. There was an innocent warmth on his lips that slipped past my eyes and settled deep inside my heart. This was the second time I'd met him. Within days, I found myself in his smile. In class, I would choose the desk beside his, my pulse beating faster each time. If the breeze ever carried his scent, it felt as if that fragrance had wrapped itself around me. He never looked at me with anything but kindness. Every time, he'd smile and offer a small look of affection with his eyes. Those little moments we shared were precious. One day, standing together in the hallway, he asked softly, "May I walk you home?" I looked away in embarrassment. He didn't push, his eyes were calm. Then he smiled and said, "All right. Let's go together." Every day he came to school, and we would walk side by side, talking about everything and nothing. Even now I don't know how he filled my meaningless questions with meaning. With a playful tease at my sad words, he would shower me in clouds of happiness. In every dark moment, he became a beam of light, giving me hope. His smile was incredibly beautiful. Whenever he laughed, he brought a light into the whole classroom. Inside me, a little flower of joy would bloom. Whenever I sat near him, I held back my playfulness so that my eyes stayed fixed on his face. Sometimes, our heads would lean on the same page of a book and his golden hair would brush against my fingers. In those moments, my heart felt as if it was quietly dancing. Every morning when I went to school, my heart would take flight. I would think of that boy who felt like he was destined just for me. He, too, would look at me with those innocent, lovely eyes. Often we'd stand so close together that I wished the moment would never end. In his eyes there was a kind of hope. I felt as though even the hardest parts of life shone with light when I saw his face. One day, assembly ended and all the children ran back to their classrooms. I hurried toward the hall, but his gaze stopped me. He came up to me, handed me a book from among my school bag, and in a voice full of gentle warmth asked, "Are you okay?" His simple question, accompanied by that sweet smile, was enough to lift the weight from my heart. That was how he always turned my little sorrows into smiles. He seemed like any other boy, yet to me every gesture and every word from him carried the meaning of love. Days passed, and each morning began with the thought, perhaps today I will see him. His faintest smile would awaken my soul and fill my world with new colors. I longed to read the hidden stories behind the gentle flutter of his eyelids. In my heart, love for him quietly grew, though I never found the courage to tell him. In the simplicity of my everyday life, his presence blossomed like a flower, filling everything with fragrance. There was sweetness in all he did and sincerity in everything he said. He was unaware that he had filled each of my days with happiness. Every evening when I returned home, his memory awoke in some empty corner of my heart, and I would silently replay his image in my mind. Then one day, I felt his absence. That day, even the teacher leading the class noticed and began the lesson more quickly because he wasn't there. For a few days, I didn't quite realize he was gone, but when I could no longer find him in the hallways or in his empty seat, an emptiness settled deep within me. My heart trembled as I turned to my friend beside me and whispered, "Have you seen him?" My quiet question seemed to shake the whole room. She gave me a silent smile, as if she, too, were stitched together by longing. Then she softly said, "I don't think he's come to school since yesterday." My courage faltered, but I steadied myself. A little spark of hope still lived inside me. Maybe he was on leave or ill. I told myself he would return in a few days. Yet it felt as though my very breath grew still from that day on. In every class, his empty desk surrounded me, as if he had never existed in this world. Each day passed in his memory. I spent hours beneath the old tree where we first met. His image would bloom in my mind, every happy moment lit by his smile. I spoke to his pictures, wrote his name, and made secret dreams, but no walls ever formed around those hopes. His absence shadowed every morning. In the silent halls of school, his empty seat felt like a lonely desert. At the back of the classroom, I thought I heard his laughter echo, but when I looked, there was only emptiness sighing. It felt as though he had slipped away on unknown paths, leaving me alone on a journey far too long. Still, I was determined to finish my school diploma. I told myself that the dreams I had built for him would never go to waste. I threw myself into my studies, busying myself with exam preparations. Yet his sorrow stayed with me every moment, as if my eyes searched for his face in every question. Day after day, as I turned each page of my textbooks, I lived inside his memory. I realized that without him, life felt incomplete. Even so, I did not let go of hope. I vowed that by succeeding in my education, I would show him how important he had become to my life. Finally, the last year of school drew to a close. All around me, faces glowed with excitement, but on my face lay a quiet sadness that no one seemed to notice. I joined in the final ceremonies and exams, but my eyes held the restless image of that tree. My joy felt half-finished on the day everyone else celebrated. I wandered through the festivities feeling strangely lost. Then came the happy morning when I received my school diploma. Everyone took pictures and celebrated, but my lips wore a silent, hollow smile. My eyes did not sparkle that day, because inside me pulsed a quiet thirst. I thought, isn't it odd? I have everything I could want, yet my life still feels incomplete. I realized that what he left within me was a sense of incompleteness. He floated through every breath I took, shared my successes with his memory, but never truly returned. I asked myself countless questions. In love, does only the lover care, or do both hearts need to be together? In that moment, I understood that true love has no reward. Its ocean drifts you into emptiness. I gathered the hollow space inside me, held it close, and quietly embraced it. On my way home that day, the world looked the same, the people the same, yet everything felt different to me. The moment I stepped inside my home's walls, a hush fell over me, as if a curtain had dropped between the earth and the sky. Inside me was only that solitude, an emptiness no one could ever take away. My mother asked how my day had been. I reached out and, with a calm smile, said it was fine. No one saw the sadness hiding behind my innocent expression. I slipped into my room and sat beneath that old tree, wondering if this was how I was meant to live, as if my life had drifted away from me, and the breeze itself made my heart ache. In the lonely nights, thoughts of him visited every dream. Sometimes his face appeared in the moonlight, sometimes I heard his soft laughter in the wind's whispers. But when I woke, only emptiness remained. It felt as if he escaped after each dream, leaving half-remembered memories behind. Slowly, I learned that I could never erase him from my heart. He had settled into my soul. Even now, each morning begins with his memory, filled with love, yet shadowed by a pain that makes every day belong to him. I have sunk into this solitude, as if life itself has turned away from me. This loneliness stays with me always. People say time heals everything, but for me, that may never be true. My heart is still captive to this emptiness, and I live on as a character in my own story. Perhaps the world bears witness to my silence, but no one has truly known my sorrow. I still see that day in my mind like a blurred page in a book, my wedding day. Adorned in every ornament, I stood before the mirror, arranging myself. The gold bangles on my wrists gleamed, and that very night their shine turned yellowish as I dusted my hair with charcoal and tucked flowers into it. My mother's cotton veil fluttered in her hands, and even my father's lips curved into a rare smile. Everything felt like a dream, but that dream lasted only moments, like color fading at the first mist. Sitting at the wedding feast, my heart pounded so loudly I was certain everyone could hear it. I felt a mingled thrill of joy, fear, and uncertainty. Amid the laughter around me, the rustle of silk in my ears felt like tiny blades. I glanced at our guests and family, their eyes shone with happiness. My mother smiled and kissed my forehead, whispering, "My daughter, your new home will be good." In her eyes I saw only certainty. Inside me, though, I felt like a painting of many colors, everyone staring in wonder, and me not yet knowing my place in this portrait. That day was full of happiness, but I hardly understood that I was stepping into a brand new chapter of life. To me, marriage had been only a ritual, but in my heart, I trembled at the thought of standing alone at the crossroads of a strange new home. I knew neither the house nor the relationships awaiting me. The young man seated beside me, soon to be my companion, sat quietly, as if he were one of the candles lighting our path. Before reaching for my hand, he laughed softly, then wrapped his fingers around a teacup and drank. Even his silence held a comforting warmth. Our families offered prayers and blessings, and he finally smiled, saying, "It's perfect." That brief introduction at our first meeting carried a gentle calm in his smile that unbalanced me for a moment. I managed to whisper back, "I am happy to meet you." As the flower of those words bloomed on my lips, he settled back under the shade of his own quiet strength and silently took my hand. When our fingers met, it felt as though my cold, still spirit suddenly began to beat. That small exchange, a bridge between love's first spark and hesitant discovery, gave us the courage to smile at each other wholeheartedly. The first week after our wedding was strange. Neither of us felt distant, yet neither felt close. Silence wove its tangled dance through our new relationship. In the morning, when he left for work, I forgot my fleeting hope. In the evening, when he returned tired, my weary eyes paused for a moment on his gentle smile. Every night felt like a short, sweet taste of the early days of our marriage. At first, the quiet between us was light, words were few, and emotions seemed vast and empty, so that my voice often carried a sorrowful echo throughout the day. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, I would ask myself, are we two strangers flowing in the same blood, yet so far apart? But no answer ever came. We spent our days wrapped separately in the routines of work and chores, he lost in office papers in the morning, I in kitchen tasks by noon, and as soon as the lights were out at night, we each retreated to our own rooms, each embracing our own solitude. Slowly, our days began to change. We both decided to start the journey of understanding one another. His secrets unfolded before me like vines slowly blooming with color. The first time he took my hand and, bathed in the soft moonlight, said, "Sana, why do you keep your distance from me?" I lowered my head slightly and answered, "Perhaps I didn't find the courage to come closer to you." He smiled and gently shook his head. "There's no need to be afraid," he said. "We have all the time in the world." In that moment, I felt hope stir in my heart, hope that our small silences would never become chains that bound us in conflict. Every day, new paths of thought opened between us. One evening, as raindrops fell, we stood together on the balcony, looking down at the trees. The hush of dusk, the leaves of the peepal tree dancing in the gentle breeze, and the fresh, earthy scent in the air, all of it felt magical. He spoke softly, "You know, when you turn around and take my hand like that, I feel like the luckiest man in the world." His hopeful words settled deep in my heart. I couldn't help smiling and replied, "And to me, it feels like you are the healer for every lonely moment and the balm for every wound in my heart." We stood there in silence, sharing our first whispered words of love. It was in these small scenes that our love grew, like moonlight scattering across the night or the gradual shift from darkness to dawn's first rays. We looked carefully into each other's eyes. When he noticed the sadness hidden beneath my smile, he understood that some bitter wounds from my past still lived inside me. One night, he placed his hand on my forehead and said, "Let me carry your shadows and heal your deepest pains." I lifted my head and softly answered, "You've never asked about the stories in my eyes." Tears gathered in both our eyes. He whispered, "All through my own lonely nights, my candles burned for you, but you never knew." We learned to hold each other's sorrows close and not let them scatter. Whenever my mind drifted toward old, painful memories, he gently gripped my hand and anchored me back to the present. When darkness clouded his own heart, I offered him my quiet smile and walked by his side. In those moments, our silence spoke volumes, like secret gardens of whispered poetry where two hearts sing together. Time's passage shaped us. The distance that once defined us became the space where our love could root deeper. It was on a rainy afternoon, when he brought me dinner without asking and I made him tea with a shy smile, that I truly felt our bond. Then, as I planned a small celebration for him and he reached out to understand my every worry, our room filled with the scent of flowers and the warmth of prayers. Close together, we discovered life's sweetness, much like a bee recognizing the nectar-filled blossom and composing a song in its honor. One day, as we sat together in the soft blue of spring, he squeezed my hand and said, "I wish I could stay by your side forever." I nodded and whispered, "And I want you so close that your smile becomes the light of my mornings." His lips curved into a gentle smile, and in that moment I felt as if those words were meant only for us. The hidden hopes beneath my veil began to blossom like delicate cotton flowers. Not long after, our life truly filled with joy. We felt the lessons of love flow like a river, sometimes rushing to meet the banks, sometimes drifting softly like leaves on its surface. He honored my wishes, and I turned his weaknesses into my strength. Our words changed into laughter, and our hearts shone with new colors. In those bright days, our love bloomed like spring flowers. When he brought me fresh milk in the morning, or I made him his favorite juice in the evening, our eyes sparkled with love's garden. We learned that every relationship must be handled with care, like tending to a young plant that only flowers through patient effort. Love is not a brief fireworks show to be set off and forgotten, but a gentle flame that, when tended carefully, fills each moment with light. Though we had 1,000 things to say, we chose honesty, good intent, and kindness, like a soft breeze that transforms the river's restlessness into calm. Then one evening, as the golden sunset painted the sky in floral hues, I lay in bed reflecting on our journey and realized that love isn't about grand gestures but about true intent and patience. At that moment he looked at me and said, "Love doesn't have to be wild or loud. With sincere intent, effort, and patience, every relationship can bloom like a flower." His words touched our hearts and spread peace between us. I smiled and replied, "You're right. This little plant of ours will never wither, because we've nurtured it together." Our smiles warmed each other as though winter had passed and spring had finally arrived. That lesson, love thrives not on power but on gentleness, became our most precious truth. And so, Sana and her partner let their love blossom every day like flowers in spring, living each moment with joy. They learned that the secret to love success lies not in grand strength but in a soft heart, and that no force can stop true love from flowering when watered with sincerity, effort, and patience. That was the message of our story today. If you enjoyed it, please share it widely and subscribe to our